Water, our most precious natural resource. All living organisms depend on it for survival. However, water quality is easily compromised, and its supply is finite. The United States Congress established the Clean Water Act in 1972 to protect the public waters of our country. Today, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and state environmental agencies work together to uphold the Clean Water Act. These efforts focus on identifying lakes, rivers, and streams that are considered to be impaired. A body of water is considered to be impaired if it fails to meet water quality standards because of the presence of pollutants such as sediment or nutrients. Once designated as impaired, the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality develops a pollution budget for each pollutant present. These pollution budgets are known as Total Maximum Daily Loads, or TMDLs. The Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality developed a system to protect and restore Mississippi's waters that became known as the Basin Management Approach. The Basin Management Approach listed and prioritized state waterways by degree of impairment and stakeholder interest. Bee Lake in Holmes County was one of the first watersheds prioritized in the first basin management cycle. This case is a great example of how the environment can be enhanced when public and private interests work together. Within a year, a locally led watershed implementation team was established for Bee Lake. This team consists of a majority of the primary landowners, business owners, and residents in the Bee Lake watershed. A technical committee, led by MDEQ, provides oversight for the team. Delta Wildlife, a regional conservation organization, facilitated meetings, provided administrative support, and later coordinated restoration activities in the watershed. The team developed a comprehensive watershed implementation plan that identified all water-related concerns and solutions to address these concerns.
The state of Mississippi has taken a basin management approach to addressing impaired waters across the state. And what that means to the average citizen is we look at watersheds. We look at the Yazoo River watershed, the Big Black River watershed, among others across the state. We'll look at the watersheds and evaluate what needs to be done. But what we have found to be true over the past 15 years in taking this approach is nobody knows their watersheds any more than the local citizen.
At Bee Lake, the first step in developing a comprehensive watershed implementation plan was problem identification. Head cutting, bank sloughing, sheet erosion, and gully formation all led to increased amounts of nutrient-rich sediment entering Bee Lake. Suspended sediments increase turbidity, raise water temperature, decrease dissolved oxygen, and generally degrade quality fish and wildlife habitat. Invasive aquatic weeds in Bee Lake posed a threat to fish and wildlife resources. Alligator weed and coontail were of particular concern in Bee Lake. In moderation, these plants provide needed escape cover for young fish and invertebrates. When they dominate, these plants restrict access to large portions of the lake and can make it difficult for predators such as bass and crappie to feed. Perhaps one of the greatest threats to Bee Lake is the failing weir, or small overflow type dam that sustains the current lake level. Without this weir, Bee Lake would decrease by approximately 900 acres, essentially converting the lake into wetlands. The overall status of the Bee Lake fishery was also listed as a concern. Although it is arguably the most productive natural crappie fishery in the state, bass and sunfish populations in Bee Lake have substantially decreased since the 1950s and 1960s. But there are solutions. Agricultural best management practices, or BMPs, can reduce the amount of sediment entering the lake. Invasive aquatic weeds can be controlled, new weirs can be built, and fishery management plans can be developed. This is too large for one person or agency to handle, but assistance is available. The U.S. Department of Agriculture offers cost-shared conservation practices that address sedimentation issues. Administered by the Natural Resource Conservation Service, the Environmental Quality Incentives Program provides technical and financial assistance to landowners to implement BMPs, such as water control structures and bank stabilization. Delta Wildlife and Delta F.A.R.M also administers funds available through Section 319 of the Clean Water Act to support projects such as bank stabilization, drainage improvement, water control structures, grass filter strips, riparian forest buffers, stiff grass hedges, and land forming. Most BMPs are cost shared, and private landowners and farmers must match these funds by providing equipment, labor, and fuel. The Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks can address fisheries management concerns and invasive aquatic weeds. Delta Wildlife also utilized Section 319 funds to treat coontail in the upper portion of Bee Lake. The Yazoo Mississippi Delta Joint Water Management District, or YMD, is charged with managing water supplies in and around the Bee Lake watershed. YMD took the lead on constructing a new weir that will ensure stable water levels.
The NRCS utilized the Environmental Quality Incentive Program to assist farmers in the Bee Lake project in an effort to address the sediment problems that they have there. And what makes this project so unique is the collaboration that NRCS, Mississippi Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, as well as the Department of Environmental Quality and the farmers themselves in order to address these problems. That was the uniqueness of this project.
Several BMPs were used to improve water quality in the Bee Lake watershed. One management practice is the use of water grade control structure, which causes water to slow down and rise, allowing suspended sediments to fall out of the water before entering the lake. Structures that carry a large volume or fast-moving water benefit from the use of riprap energy pools. These rock pools slow the water and prevent scouring or slogging of the ditch bank. Low-level riprap weirs can be used in large ditches with significant gradient to slow and cool the water, allowing suspended sediments to drop out. Ditch excavation and vegetative bank stabilization is another common method of reducing the amount of waterborne sediment. Fibrous coconut mats were used on freshly excavated banks to prevent erosion and promote plant growth. Not all sediment travels through a ditch or drain. Overland flow and sheet erosion can be solved using buffer strips or a pad pipe combination. Pads are simple levees that channel water to a slotted or riser pipe to reduce suspended sediments. Buffer strips are areas planted in hardwood trees or native warm season grasses that filter sediment from runoff water. Buffer strips also provide valuable wildlife habitat for many species, especially bobwhite quail. Although sediment-reducing BMPs were the largest component of Bee Lake's plan, other equally important measures were implemented. The Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks continued stocking of alligator flea beetles to control alligator weed. Delta Wildlife successfully treated 40 acres of coontail. YMD and Natural Resources Conservation Service engineers designed and led a contract to construct a new weir. Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks personnel have spent many hours over the last few years surveying Bee Lake with anglers who frequent the waters to develop a fisheries management plan that will ensure the sustainability of quality crappie, catfish, sunfish, and bass fishing for years to come. While the waters of Bee Lake are considered public, the private land around the water can either threaten or protect its quality. The full support and cooperation of private landowners is necessary if any significant improvements are to be made in the watershed. Every structural measure implemented in the Bee Lake watershed was on private land. In each case, private landowners agreed to accept part of the financial and maintenance liabilities. This project, or any other similar project, could not be successful without the complete buy-in of local stakeholders and private landowners.
We've got to have the citizen input. This is not government driven. This is local stakeholder or local citizen driven. Without your help, we're not going to be successful.
But just as Bee Lake and its water quality improvements depends on local stakeholders and private landowners, they too depend on the resource. Projects like the one at Bee Lake are a win-win situation for landowners, farmers, local businesses, fishermen, and other stakeholders.
Well, when they mentioned EPA, it gave me a little concerned. Did we have anything wrong, or were they going to do something to help us or hurt us? But as it turned out, they did a lot to help us. They put in water control structures for us that would slow the water down going into the lake, that would stop the silting into the lake.
I couldn't afford to do on my own what Delta Wildlife has come in here and done, both putting chemicals out, putting drops in, culverts in, solving my erosion problem. I couldn't have done it by myself. I mean, we've spent big bucks out here, and I've only paid a small percentage of it. So it's been money well spent.
Much of the success of the Bee Lake project comes from the cooperation and participation of local stakeholders and landowners. But the many cooperative agencies and organizations who served as partners during the project must also be recognized. More than 15 private, state, and federal organizations and agencies provided technical assistance to plan and implement this project. Working together, nearly $2 million in financial support was utilized to improve water quality in the watershed. Each partner, cooperator, and team member was valuable in the planning and implementation of this comprehensive watershed restoration project. Every person who fishes, boats, lives, farms, or otherwise uses Bee Lake must be thankful to the stakeholders, landowners, and resource professionals who dedicated their time and money to restore this lake. Today, Bee Lake has a much brighter future, as do those who depend on it.